What's going on, people? It's the Quest Podcast back again on another Thursday night. We're gonna go ahead and get right in this thing. First, I'm gonna introduce the panel. We do have a special guest popping through here in just a minute, but you'll see who that is once he pops in. But we'll start out with Artemis. What's been going on?
Hey, what's up, everyone? Glad to be here tonight. Hanging out with the boys. It's always fun on a Thursday night to hang out with everybody, and our special guest, who will be with us shortly. He's on another podcast, so he'll be in here pretty soon. But it's fun.
Remix.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Sorry if I sound at all weird. I'm a bit under the weather, but we'll manage through, and can't wait to get on into the topics for the night. So let's go.
You sound the same to me.
Yeah, well, I sound okay right now, I feel, but in general, I've been having a bad cough and stuff, man. It's those midterms, dude. That make you sick.
those midterms are just killing you right now.
Yeah. So.
And I'm your host, MBaines99. I'm going to start off with what we've been playing. Artemis, what you been playing, man?
Just The Evil Within 2, man. Just finished it yesterday. Getting geared up for Assassin's Creed Origins, of course. I'm liking what I'm seeing, from the reviews and, people on YouTube saying it's a good game. So, I'm pretty ecstatic for that. That comes out tonight. But, yeah, The Evil Within 2 is, if you guys haven't picked it up yet, definitely pick that game up because it's an awesome, awesome horror game. Definitely brings me back to when, Resident Evil 4 was out. It's definitely, has that feel, that vibe. Definitely pick it up.
Did you pick that up digital or physical?
I picked it up physical because I know you in horror games.
I was just wondering.
Remix, that sounds like you may want to play it a little bit.
Yeah, maybe check it out. See, I'll check it out if it's available to me.
Well, Resident Evil 7 is available to you, isn't it? Didn't you pick that up?
No, I picked that up for PS4 when that came out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I thought I was gonna catch Remix in one, but all right. What you been playing, Remix?
Yo, I have been playing jack shit. That's what I've been playing. Yeah, I haven't been playing any games this week, but yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. So.
Yeah, we understand that. I would be in the same position if I didn't get what I told you I was gonna get. But right after as for me, right after the podcast, last Thursday, I finished up the first ending of Shadow of Wars, and I haven't touched it since. Shadow of War, and I haven't touched it since. The next part of it, I think, is Shadow Wars, which I figured I'll just save that for the X anyway. But I did pick up a Switch, and things have been busy, so the Switch has allowed me to still game, and I've been playing a lot of Zelda.
Nice.
So Zelda Breath of the Wild is a great game. I know when the reviews for that game first came out, I remember us talking about it, and I remember myself saying maybe that nostalgia thing is part of the reason why it got the grade it got. I think it got a 97, but now that I'm playing it, the game deserved a 97. It really did. The game is really that good, and it does so many things that open world games like that forget to do. Just simple things too that make you think okay, just simple physics type things.
You're talking about Zelda, right?
Yeah, Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a huge game. They really enjoyed it, and I played a little NBA Playgrounds on the Switch, Sonic Mania, that a little bit in that. So Switch is a nice console on the go, man. It really is.
Sure. Yeah, I can't wait to pick one up. I'll probably get one in a couple months.
Yeah, man. I would highly suggest both of y'all get one because in those
because our busy schedules and busy lives. Yeah.
In those busy times, you can pop that sucker out, and you got.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I could pull out the Switch in between classes.
Exactly.
Play some games.
So yeah, that's it. I guess we're gonna go ahead and move on. Our special guest will be here in a little bit, but we're gonna go ahead and hit the first topic. Destiny 2 is this year's best-selling game so far. I don't think that's a surprise to any of us. It was
No.
highly anticipated throughout the year. Um, but we also know there's a big player base drop off too. So y'all can just tackle both of those. I know the second one wasn't part of the topic, but y'all can tackle both of those. What do you guys think?
Well, I think, Destiny 2 just had so much hype around it that, so many people were so like, hey, this is going to be different from the first one. So you might want to pick it up just to try it out. And I think a lot of people kind of gravitated towards that and said, hey, I'm going to pick it up and play it. With the, with the drop off, I mean, it's understandable because, I mean, there's really not much of an end game. There's the raid, there's the strikes, but those get very repetitive very quickly. Crucible is not as what it was before. They had Iron Banner a couple weeks ago. It was fun, but it's not like the Iron Banner of the past. I think they just needed to give us more content for the end game, besides just kind of focusing on giving us the story campaign. But I mean, it is what it is. People are going to drop off. It just happens with MMOs anyways. But I think the game is still valued in the community, and I think it's still a good game. Otherwise,
right. Before you go, Remix, I want to introduce our guest for the week. He's been here before, but he had to leave quick that time. He's back with us, Predator H2O.
What's going on, guys? I don't know where we're at in the topics, man. It's kind of
we're on the first one after what you do. Well, you can just tell us what you've been playing real quick. So
actually, this week I have not played much of anything. I played a little PUBG on PC, a little bit of Forza, not a lot. I mean, I probably had about maybe 3 hours of gaming in complete total this whole week. Looking forward to tomorrow though, because I'm off and I will have my copy of Mario. And I will be playing some Assassin's Creed.
Nice.
But other than that, man,
Mario's been getting like 10s across the board.
Yeah, man, that thing's like hot. For it's Mario, man. You can't expect anything less than a 9.5 on that. You know what I'm saying? So,
that's true. Yeah.
It's like Zelda. It's good. Those two games are always going to be 9s. Regardless how shitty they may or may not be, they're going to be up there, regardless how people feel about them. So,
right.
You can't. It's like blasphemy to give that thing like a 7.
Yeah, I was just talking about Zelda actually because I've been playing that too. Nice. And I got Mario coming, but I probably won't touch it until I'm finished with Zelda. But Zelda's a really good game, man. I was just telling them how when those scores first came out, I thought it was due a lot to nostalgia, but after actually playing the game myself, I'm thinking, nah. This was pretty warranted. Like the game does some things as far as an open world game that a lot of open world games nowadays just forget to do.
Yeah.
And those little things just make it a really great game, man. But we want to get your thoughts on we'll get your thoughts and then we'll roll back around the remix. Destiny 2 is this year's best-selling game so far. Just want to get your thoughts on that, and also the fact that the player base has had a huge drop off here lately. So, you want to go ahead and talk about those two things?
Yeah. Keyword there is so far. We still got a little bit more left in the year. A lot of big titles coming out. But I mean, Destiny 2 came out at the perfect time. There was really not a lot out around that time. I think Battlefront will probably take it over. As soon as that comes out, Call of Duty may take over both of those when it comes out. But right now, yeah, it's the best-selling game. But like you said, the player base has dropped off dramatically. And it's those type of game styles, like where you have to do that grinding thing. If you don't keep a constant influx of like content coming, people get bored quick. They just like, I'm tired of walking around shooting,
same stuff,
shooting the same shit, doing the same raids over and over again that came from the, from I guess earlier levels in the game. You can't keep doing that shit over and over again and feel hyped about it just so you can get like a 1 point light level, so unless they like those type of games, like you have to have like almost a 12-month plan for it. Like you have to release content like consistently and have it sitting in the woodworks, ready for you to pull out of your hat every now and then. We start seeing that player base drop down because like, when's our next update for this game?
December.
December. That's a long time when you have a
Yeah,
lot
it
of
is.
other shit coming out. So, and I'm glad you said that because I didn't know the answer to that question. So, but like that's a long wait for a game like it just came out like less than a month ago, and like the player base is already dropping. So when December hits, do you think people are going to jump into this game back in December? Maybe they'll jump into the first couple of weeks, to kind of get their gear score up and stuff like that. But you got to be really like a hardcore fan of the franchise to consistently play this game day in and day out with Assassin's Creed coming out, with Call of
Mm-hmm.
Duty, with Battlefront, with Cuphead out now, Forza out now. I mean, like, you have to basically make yourself play this game or just want to play it bad enough to keep your score up in order to compete later on down the road. I don't I can understand why the player base has dropped. They're not really producing any new content for it like it's coming out for as frequently as most people would want.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of like it being the best selling game so far, yeah, like had no kind of like doubts about that. Like, yeah, of course it's gonna sell well, but as Predator said, yeah, we have so many more games coming out. I mean, we have 3 games, I believe, releasing tomorrow that are gonna be big. So
Yeah.
we'll wait and see on that. I don't think it'll be the best selling game of the year. As for its player base drop off, I feel like it's that the game has such a grind to it, but at this point in the game, like where you like us 3, and I don't know if you have the game Predator, are all sitting. It's there's nothing to grind for, like we're not getting anything except for 1 power level here and there. There's no new exotic weapons to go after. I was watching a video a couple weeks ago, and the guy was, pretty much saying like, why don't they have, let's say, like a Nessus exclusive exotic gun? You have to go through all these criteria and get the gun on Nessus. Just stuff like that to keep like, so that you still have like something to work towards. So it makes the grind seem a little less. I mean, even though you're still grinding, because at this point you're just like doing public events over and over, doing Crucible over and over, and it gets repetitive and it gets boring. So I think that's their biggest thing, is they need really more exotics and more things to work towards that are worthwhile. So.
Yeah, and even I think at what was it, TwitchCon or whatever that was that just passed, but they had a press conference. They were talking about the seasons and different things that you get in the seasons, and
Yeah.
Even some of that stuff. I mean, I was like, okay, like, so you're telling me it's going to be seasons of basically the same stuff that we do now, and you're going to give me some different gears, some different aesthetics. Like, I don't. Like, that's not going to pull me back in. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But that's the thing. I think about it like, is it really going to be new gear, or is it going to be just reskin gear? Because I mean, a lot of this stuff has only ever been like reskin gear, except for the Iron Banner stuff. I think that stuff was actually brand new. And like you said, Remix, with the exotics and stuff, I mean, you just end up getting duplicates, and it's so easy to get exotics right now that it's almost kind of ridiculous. And I think they kind of took away from the first game, where it took you a little bit harder and it was a little bit more time consuming to get those exotics.
Yeah, you cared about your exotics.
Exactly. When you got the Galahorn, you were excited about it. When you get like an exotic in Destiny 2, you're like, it has no weight to it.
Yeah, like especially like when they have like the Merciless for sale the first week with Xur, and it's supposed to be the best fusion rifle exotic there is, because it can do so much DPS in a short period of time. Like they lost a lot of like, I didn't play the first game, but like from what I've heard, they've lost a lot of depth by making the game too accessible. And I understand making your game more accessible, but you don't need to make the entire game accessible, right? You have quick play. That's for people that, don't play much, just want to hop in every so often. Trials of the Nine, I haven't played Iron Banner yet, but both those modes, those are some you definitely run into higher caliber players, but those should
yeah.
be like truly rewarding. I don't think they're rewarding enough after you know, a few like 2 or 3 weeks of playing those modes that only like pop up on the weekends. You can have all the loot from those 2 modes. Like that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
You know,
When's the
also
last
some
time
of
you guys
those
have actually
to work
picked this
towards.
game up and played it?
It's been a while.
maybe
Yeah.
it was
Maybe a couple weeks. Maybe
Yeah.
for
more.
me. It's been like a week. So
Yeah, it's been
Yeah,
like I
pretty
think like
fresh.
3 or 4 weeks, but I haven't really touched games at all in the last month or so. So
it's
I put it down once
Yeah.
Forza came out, and I haven't really touched it since.
Well, that's the thing. I had no reason to go back to it because, I mean, I started playing the Evil Within 2, and I just got engaged in that, and I was just like, you know, I have no reason to go back to Destiny 2 right now. I mean,
That's
and
the thing.
that's sad for me because, I mean, Destiny 1 was so, you know, for me, it was like, it was a great game, and I loved it. I mean, it had its problems, it had its flaws, but, I mean, it was still, there was something there that you could actually gravitate towards, and it doesn't feel like that with 2.
And that's their problem too. You got all these games that's coming out now, and all you're gonna have is seasons with new gear that's not really that good. I mean, not to me. Like I'm not looking for aesthetics. Give me something that's gonna do something as far as my DPS when I'm going against another Guardian or I'm going against whoever. I mean, whatever as far as PvE content. But also, they need to make some of their special events like Trials of the Nine, Nightfall, the Raid. They need to make it more accessible to a larger crowd of people because the Raid is still an issue for 6 people to get together to complete it.
Yeah.
Trials of the Nine, you have to have 4 people. What was it, 4 or 3? Yeah, it's 4. You have to have 4 people together. You can't just match make into that. You have to have
I mean,
4 people in a team to do that.
I mean, you can get people, but they have to carry you, and that's the problem because there's too many good players in there, and that's not a big issue because I mean it makes it challenging, but at the same time it when you can't win like a couple games, it gets frustrating and you just give up because you're like, well, whatever, it doesn't matter anymore because I can't win either way.
Like, what am I?
Well, I do agree that they should add in some kind of like guided game modes or something for trials. As for like my issue with the raid is that it has some mechanics in it that like aren't actual mechanics in the game, such as the dogs. You have to be stealthy, but there's no stealth mechanics in the game, right? Yeah. And again, like honestly, the guns in the raid are not rewarding enough to even go and do the raid. I mean, there's a legendary rocket launcher that's really good, but and you can use some of the other guns, but there's better guns out there that I can get just randomly and easier, such as the origin story. I've gotten like 5 of those just from going to like one of the vendors in the tower. So that's the game's just not rewarding enough for your difficult tasks either, I believe. So
definitely,
or I feel so.
All right, well, we're gonna cut Destiny off. We'll see what it's doing toward the end of the year when that new DLC drops. Now we're gonna move on to Microsoft killing the Kinect. When we all knew that eventually this was gonna happen.
I think we should have a moment of silence for that.
We all knew it was gonna happen. They didn't really box it. I mean, they took it out of the box, and then they gave you a connector if you already had it for the S, or if you didn't have, you had to pay for the connector. And now it's like it's not really talked about in reference to the X. So we all knew this was coming. It was a decent piece of technology to me. It was a lot of thought put into it. They could have did a lot more with it. It's just that with the launch and everything, putting that into the box and saying you have to have this, I think that was a bad move. But what do you guys think about Kinect issue?
To be honest, it's a sad moment in Microsoft history, to see it die, because I think it had some potential to be utilized, but I think a lot of people are happy that it's gone completely. But I mean, for a lot of us, you know, there was a lot of people in the community I know who still use their Connect and absolutely love using it. But I mean, it just not. It was just not something a lot of majority of people wanted, so they had to kill it, and it's not surprising at all.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really used my Kinect since I first pulled it out of the box. Like I remember I played a couple, like a game, like it was like a series of games. It was like an adventure Kinect game. That was kind of fun. And then like my sister and stuff would always play like dance. I think it was Dance Revolution or one of those
Central
dancing
Problem.
games. So I mean, like I feel like party games like that, you know, could have definitely more of them could have been made, and they could have been fun on the Connect. But overall, you know, like that's over, and so you know, it is what it is. And I think, well, nah, I feel like it could actually still be utilized like with the next system if they actually just like focus on party games. But we have a like, I mean, I would just go use old Wii to do those things because you know they're fun. So
Right. And well, that's the thing, you know, people don't want to like hit stuff in the air. They want to have something in their hands to actually make them feel like they're doing something, you know. And I think that was the reason why I think a lot of the Kinects didn't sell very well, because I had it connected on the 360 era, and I was all like, I hope they don't do this with the next iteration of consoles, and then go figures, they do it with the with the Xbox One, and that's why I didn't get an Xbox One right away, because I was like, you know, I already had the Kinect from the 360. I know the Kinect on the Xbox One is 10 times better than the one on the 360, but at the same time, I was all like, I this is just not something I want to utilize or even have in my home. So I was just like, I'll wait for a while. And then they finally said, hey, we're going to take the Kinect out and give it to you cheaper. And it was like, what, $349 at the time? I was like, hell yeah. And I plopped down that money and picked up the Xbox One. So
the Kinect died when they closed all those other studios, those Kinect friendly. That was the beginning of the end right there. And then, you know, you go through an E3 or two without any announced Kinect games. Even like their flagship Kinect game, their Dance Central game, wasn't announced. They didn't talk about it, and you know, there were no updates for it. You know, it's that if anyone's surprised by this, that they should be like, it's taken out in the backyard and shot in the face with a shotgun. It's just like we've known this was going to happen. They haven't talked about the Kinect in fucking 2-3 years now. So like, the fact they finally just announced it, you know, like I'm actually shocked it took this long for them to even say anything about the Kinect in the first place. So, I mean, good riddance. I wasn't a big fan of it. Mine's sitting in the box. I even got like the free adapter they gave us when you have the the 1S. You know, I got it and it's still sitting in the box too. I haven't used it, and the really shitty part of it, it was never really. They were like, it was one of those gimmicky things, you know. It probably had a lot of promise, but developers didn't really support it very much. I remember using Battlefield and maybe even I think Rise, where you can do the voice commands on Rise. Battlefield, you can actually lean your head to the side when you shoot some of the shooting mechanics and stuff like that. In Battlefield 4, I believe, maybe it was 3. But outside of that, it's kind of like what was that thing we used to use? The companion apps they used to use with your tablets. Those kind of secretly died away. No one talks about them, you know. And the Kinect was the same way. Like all those features that, like, you know, could have been implemented into the game, devs didn't want to take the time to put into it, so it was never used on any of the games that were out there. Now I know this is like a little predatorism right now. So like, this is what I was thinking when I saw this article. Okay, now I know Microsoft is going towards the VR focus a little bit, VR, AR, maybe next year. They're talking about doing it, but don't you need a Kinect or like a motion tracker to use VR? If I'm not mistaken,
would think so,
because I know PlayStation does. You can use it without it, but it actually works better with it, from my understanding. I don't have VR, so I really can't. So if someone in chat knows, tell me. But like, but I think you need this. So like, for it to work effectively. So are they coming up with another version of Kinect or another head tracking device that we can use in the future?
They might be. I mean, with the X coming, they might be thinking to themselves, well, we need a new iteration of the Kinect just for VR or AR, and they might be coming up with some kind of, crazy Kinect design or something like that for the X. But of course, they're going to sell it separate because, they
bundle that
have
shit
to
in.
make
They're not doing
money.
that again.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. They don't
But
want
now
to.
here's the fucked up thing. Now, what if they come out and they say, "Hey, you have to buy this brand new peripheral because your Xbox One, Connect is not going to work with this. You need the Xbox One V3 for this to work, and we're going to charge $150 for it."
I mean, there will. I think there will be people who will buy it because I mean, we have a lot of people we know in the community that will probably buy it. Xbot.
Hello.
No, I honestly think that if they do like a Connect 3.0 or something like that, I think it'll be, later on down the line when they actually do come out
with the AR/VR set. I'm telling you.
Well,
that shit's over
they would kind of have
$150.
to.
They're gonna have
Honestly,
to.
I
No one's
think
gonna
they
buy
would
that
have
shit.
No, yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like any kind of like camera type product would be included with their AR/VR product. So I mean, I could see them just creating like a smaller camera that you just place on top of your on top of your TV, your
Well, they're planning
monitor, or
on
whatever.
using aftermarket. You can just buy anything off the market that will do, with the Connect.
Oh yeah,
Because the latest update just made that accessible, right? Like you can have a USB webcam or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
So maybe that's where they're going.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe maybe they won't even use a new Connect. Maybe they'll just say, well, any webcam can work with the VR AR that we provide for you.
Yeah, but not everybody necessarily would have a webcam, so you would think that they would just
Right.
like include one with it, even if it was cheap, like still include one. So
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Well, Connect is dead. Let's move on. Sunset Overdrive 2 can happen. It just needs a publisher. So I guess Insomniac is reaching out and trying to get someone to pick up Sunset Overdrive 2. What do you guys think?
Honestly, I think with them thinking about doing a Sunset Overdrive 2 is great. They absolutely are down for it. I don't think Sony will pick it up. I definitely don't think they'll be the ones to publish it. I don't think Microsoft has any interest.
They're doing Spider-Man.
Right. They're creating Spider-Man. Honestly, I don't think Microsoft has any interest in it because the first one didn't make so much money. But I think somebody out there will have an interest in actually picking it up, especially after that tweet. I think that tweet is getting around fairly quickly, and I think we're going to be hearing about Sunset Overdrive 2 fairly soon here, of them actually creating a new one. So we'll see.
yeah, man, I hope so. I love the first Sunset Overdrive, so definitely want a second one. I mean, it'll still be a while before that comes out, even if someone does pick it up soon. Yeah, I agree. I don't really think Sony will pick it up or Microsoft. I just hope, somebody does decide to publish it, and hopefully it comes out on all the consoles, and including the Switch too. I feel like that'd be a fun game on Switch. Take that on the go. That'd be cool.
That would be a sick ass game on the Switch, dude.
Yeah, boy. That's what I was just sitting here thinking. Like, if Nintendo picked it up, why hop on that bandwagon so quick?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
man.
see EA or Activision trying to get in that and just picking it up and making a multi-plat game.
Well, see, EA is they've been coming on a lot of fire, but we'll talk about it later. But they're looking for open world games because they can monetize them easier.
Yeah.
And so Sunset Overdrive is an open world game, but I guess we'll have to see. It depends on who get it. Somebody could get it and knock the scale down just a little bit, not have it so big, and change a little bit. Because the first Sunset Overdrive, it was good, but the humor in the game, the gaminess of the game, if you played it, you know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
that's what that was the big draw. But a lot of the quests, you know, it did seem like a big. I heard somebody mention this, you know, somewhere else, but the whole game did feel like a big fetch quest as far as the storyline kind of.
Yeah.
So if they could
Yeah.
just change that just a little bit, I mean, I'm pretty sure the second one can be really, really good.
Well,
So
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, outside of the I can't. It's been a while since I played it, but outside of the like main quests, for sure, like all the side quests were pretty much worthless. There's no point in doing them. They had no depth.
Mhm.
Once you beat the game, you were done with the game.
Done with it.
So honestly, if they just add more in-depth side quests and quests in general, build upon the world they already have, I would like that for the base game, and I really want to see more fun cooperative or maybe even
Yeah.
PvP mode or something. Like the mode that they did have was kind of a horde mode. I only played it like the one time that you have to play it, like in the tutorial or whatever for the story. I believe they force you to do it, and I
Yeah,
never
they
went
kinda-
back to it. So
Yeah, they kind of forced that on you, which was
Yeah.
kind of shitty. But I mean, Sunset Overdrive is probably one of my favorite games of this generation. I mean, that game alone was the reason why I bought an Xbox One.
yeah, I mean that's the first game I played on mine.
Just because I was like, I saw it and I was just like, oh man, this game's gonna be so sick. And sure enough, it was. And you know, I have to agree with you. You know, the side missions weren't there, but we also have to remember this is in time before The Witcher 3, and you know, The Witcher 3 was kind of the first, you know, game to actually give us side quests that are basically like the main storyline, and you know, hopefully going forward they see that and they'll, you know, with the Sunset Overdrive 2, they'll implement that into the game as well.
Yeah, the first white console with that one too, right? Wasn't
Yeah,
that like it still sold pretty bad. So I mean, like,
yeah, that's the thing. Like those consoles were sold out quick, but the game sold bad. I'm all like,
I wasn't a fan of the game. I picked it up. I was just talking about this on the Shop podcast a while ago. I got it and I played it for like 2 or 3 days, and I was like, I can't do this. But I'm not. That's not my game style though. So I don't like those grinding jet set radio type games anyway. But I gave it a try. I actually picked it up again on when it was Games with Gold for a while, wasn't it? So I picked it up then.
I think it did come to Games with Gold at one point.
I mean, I was like, fuck it, it's an exclusive. I'm getting this shit. It's free. So I got it. And I played a little bit of it. And I still was like, nope, this isn't me. But I think, like, you know, for the fans out there who are interested in this game because of the fact that there's such a huge demand for it, it's one of those cult classic games like this and Rise. People have been asking for sequels for forever. So I think Microsoft should kind of at least, if Microsoft wants this game back exclusive on their console, I think they should at least give it a listen and get to the table and see what they can do before they say no.
well, I also think they should market it better this time around too.
Yeah, that's.
And see, Microsoft is not going to do that. Microsoft is, as far as games, I think they're like in a risk averse state. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna, before they go into it, it has to be a model that they can be, you know, really confident that it's going to make them some money. You know, so I don't think they're in a state just to take a risk like this. So I definitely don't think Microsoft will pick it up. I'll be surprised if they do. I'd be happy if they do, but I think that's far fetched for them. I don't think they're even thinking about this. But you know, the game did, like, I can see where you were saying Predator, you're not really into it because I mean, the game did need some extra depth besides just, and maybe like some mechanics need to be changed. Like, it was real annoying to grind so fast, but then when you get to run or walk, it was like almost like the game was making you grind. Like, it was saying, no, we don't want you to run or walk. We want you to get on the rail and grind. And
No, yeah, I mean the whole purpose is to grind. You get power ups and stuff as you grind. I mean, it wants you to use its movement system. Personally, I wasn't bothered by that. I thought it was fun.
But I can see where that would annoy.
I could see someone not. Yeah.
Yeah. So But I really enjoyed it, man. I hope it gets picked up. We'll see. Like, we wouldn't see it for years if it did. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we're not gonna see it for a long time now. I mean, they probably won't even announce that it's actually being developed. We might see it at E3 someday, and we'll be like, "What?" you know. But who knows?
Well, we're gonna let the sun set on that topic, and we're gonna move on. Is Star Wars Battlefront 2? Whatever. Is Star Wars Battlefront 2? Hey, you just mad you didn't think of it.
That's true.
Star Wars Battlefront 2, is its campaign too short? It's saying it's going to be like 5 to 7 hours. Now, me personally, if it's a good meaty 5 to 7 hours, I don't care. So it just depends on how the story is, how in depth they can go in that 5 to 7 hours. How action packed it is in that 5 to 7 hours. So the time frame, I'm not going to look at the time frame. I'm only going to look at the time frame if I'm finished and be like, that was it. But if I finish and I feel fulfilled, then I'm going to be like, yeah, that was really good. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I did honestly expect it to be a bit longer than that, especially since they have another team working on it. But, if it's a solid, meaty, 5 to 7 hours, and, like I feel like they really gave me a good story and I feel like complete and like satisfied at the end of it, then it's good. Like I always say, like when I'm writing a paper or something, like, I could write, a shitty paper, a 5-page paper, with like a lot of filler, or I could write like a fucking kick-ass 2-page paper that gets to the point and like gives you what you want,
Right.
So that's kind of my view on the story of the video game as well. So
I think people may want a little bit more from it this time. Well, not this time around because they didn't have a story on the first one. But I think people will want a little bit more because that multiplayer, like, if the multiplayer turns out the way we all think it may turn out because of those microtransactions, people may want a little bit more from the story to validate that $60 purchase because they may not play the multiplayer as much. I guess we'll have to see.
No,
go ahead. I think honestly, like the reason why I was thinking about it, is it too short? Is because 5 to 7 hours isn't a lot of time. Usually, I feel like a lot of single player first person shooters are almost a little bit longer than that, maybe like 10 hours or something. But I kind of understand where they're kind of coming from because they're thinking we have the multiplayer, we have other things in the game that are going to be able to get your time in and have your money's worth. But I think like you said, if it's a meaty 5 to 7 hours, if it stays true to the Star Wars brand, then I'll be happy with the 5 to 7 hours. But I think to myself, I would have liked maybe something like a 10-hour, a few more hours. I maybe it's just me because I'm more of a single player kind of guy. I don't really dabble too much into multiplayer as much. It's just something that I would have liked to have seen if they could have done it, but apparently they're not. So,
what you think, Fred? Predator? Yeah.
No. So yeah, back to the real quick on the campaign. Shit, I don't even know what I was gonna say. I had a thought, man. It slipped my fucking mind. All right, yo,
I had my mic muted. Sorry about that. So Battlefront's one of those multiplayer games anyway. It's heavy focus on multiplayer. Now, do I think 5 to 7 hours is a little short? Yes. 10 would have been great, but I think most people are accustomed to this being a multiplayer game, and most people kind of want their own single player version of a Star Wars game. That's what people have been asking for a long time. That's what we want. So I would like to keep them separated, if it makes any sense. Like I'm not going to Battlefront for the single player game. I'm going to Battlefront for the multiplayer aspect of the game. I would love to have EA make a separate, or even another developer make a separate Star Wars game. Maybe we can get a KOTOR 2, like we've been asking for forever, hint, Microsoft. But like, we've been asking for that. So like, give us that. That's what we've been asking for. Like I mean,
Right.
like, yes, 5 hours is short. It's going to be fun for the 5-6 hours we play it. And I think most people are getting this game for the multiplayer aspect of it anyway, so it's not a big deal. But give us a single player game later. Don't let this be the fill-in for the single player, if that makes any sense. Like, I still want my single player
Right.
aspect of the Star Wars universe. So, because that's a huge universe, and I think the 5 to 7 hours is really short to expand upon that, because you have the, like, you have the space fights, you have like all the different planets you can go to. Like, there's a huge story with this franchise that needs to be told. You're not going to get that in the 5 to 7 hours they're giving us, even though they're giving us I think they're doing a new character basically on the dark side of things. But like, I'll play it. It's not on my list of must-haves for the holiday season, but they do have that Target buy two get one free, so I may suck it up and buy it anyway. It's coming out here pretty soon. But if you had to ask me right now if I was going to get it, I'd say no, not yet. But because again, I want a single player Star Wars, like a RPG or something like. But I'll play this just for the online aspect of it. And I think that's what most people are getting it for.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Online is such a big thing now. That these single player games are just kind of falling to the wayside, and it's kind of sad because I'm more of a single player kind of guy, and I do like to dabble into multiplayer just to play with friends or whatever. But for the most part, it's hard to see that we're not getting very many single player experiences anymore. Like
I feel we're still getting that. I kind of disagree with that. Like, I feel like we still get a fair bit. I think we talked about this on the last show. Like, our single player games is dying. I can't remember though. But I mean, we've got a fair bit of single player games coming. I mean, we've got Wolfenstein 2, The Evil Within 2, Shadow of War, Assassin's Creed. Like we got single player games, man. We have multiplayer games too, just because there's a market there. But there's always going to be a demand for single player. I mean, you also like have the Switch with Zelda, and that came out a few months ago, and you have Mario coming out. Like, you have a lot of good single player experiences. I feel they may not all be your cup of tea, but nonetheless, single player games aren't going anywhere. Like, there's always going to be a market there. And if everybody shifts towards the same, like, I think we might have been talking about how, like, there's a lot of money in microtransactions. And so, like, we're going to see multiplayer games and all these microtransactions. Well, sure, we're probably going to see microtransactions everywhere. But, you're not going to have a full shift towards just multiplayer games, because there's always going to be a market, and therefore for single player games, and therefore they have to create for those, because then you're oversupplying the multiplayer game market, and then it's a buyer's market, and nobody is people aren't going to make as much money because there's so many fucking games out there that are multiplayer games, and people are only going to buy one or two,
right?
So
yeah. That's a good little segue there, because you said, there's a lot of multiplayer games out there that are coming out, especially this fall. There's like Call of Duty, there was Destiny, there was there's Battlefront 2 coming. It's hard for everybody to pick all these games up. You can't pick up every single multiplayer game and play it. You can, but you're going to stick with one that's going to really be your mainstay, and you're going to just play that all the time when you want to play something that's multiplayer wise. And some of the wayside because of the fact that they be diluted.
You're cutting in and out.
Yeah, you kind of bought a little bit, but yeah, we are blending into the next topic, which is the fact that an ex-BioWare dev came out and said that EA doesn't really care about what players or what gamers want. And when I was looking over the article, it was basically saying they don't care about what the player wants. They care about what you're willing to pay for, which is basically what it was about. And that kind of, and we were just talking about single player games, and in the article it was stating that EA is looking more towards open world games. And my thought is, okay, they're looking more towards a GTA type model that's going to give you a single player storyline within the big multiplayer game, but it's going to have an online element to it, like GTA, that they can heavily monetize. And because we all know GTA is just making mega dollars. So, what do you guys think about that? I think we will still get these single player games. We're just going to have to get used to them changing. They're going to be monetizing different things like, shirts and whatever else. In GTA, you can get all kinds. You get the shark cards. You can buy boats and houses and stuff like that. This is the type of things that they're going to be monetizing within these big open world games in the online portion of it.
Yeah,
and that's what EA is looking for.
I don't think every game is going to have this like multiplayer portion. I definitely, I can see other companies coming into the mix. I mean, there's a market there. Other companies are making money off of it. So, of course, you're going to see a shift towards people making more of those games. But like I said before, like the very narrative-driven, just, let's say, like 12-hour story game that is like the Uncharted experience, like there's still a market, and so those games are still going to come out. There might be less, but there's still going to be, I feel, a good amount of those games coming out. And like they get people are also talking about, like, let's say in Shadow of War, right? I don't really know much about the microtransactions in that game, but there's ones in that game. But I mean, microtransactions, I feel, are less like work better in a multiplayer sense because, like we're talking last week about how Activision has that patent on putting marquee players with people that don't have the skins. It's because you're seeing other people using that stuff. So I feel like there's not you're not as incentivized in a single player game to purchase microtransactions unless they really build the game, like, so you have to buy stuff in order to get through the game at like a decent pace. But like that'd be kind of messed up of the developers, and I think you would see some backlash there.
Well, there was some
backlash
with Shadow of War because you can't get the true ending unless you buy some microtransactions. I mean, yes, you can earn them. You can earn them, yes, I know. But I mean, if somebody didn't really want to sit there for 40 or 50 hours trying to grind to get those coins, what are they going to do? They're going to buy these microtransactions, and then they're not even going to want to, really. But they have to because they want to get that full, ending.
Yeah,
that's kind of shady.
But the thing with Shadow of War's microtransactions is it's kind of pointless because, you could buy a legendary chest to get an orc, but then that orc could be put right out on the field and die. So you just wasted your money. It's more beneficial for you as a player going through Shadow of War to just grind the extra. And it's actually probably in game to get that last ending. You're probably looking at an extra 10 to 12 hours of grinding to get that ending. So you got that 10 to 12 extra hours. And I mean, you just got to weigh your options. Do you want to risk paying for this chest that you may put an orc on the field and then he's dead in the first siege? Or would you just rather grind and build up your own army and, just risk it that way? So I don't think Shadow of War's microtransactions, they're not really that big of an encroachment on our single player experience as of yet. But I do feel it's a Trojan horse for worse things down the line. Like I've thought about, what if they lock part of your skill tree behind microtransactions, and that's where it really starts to affect your single player experience.
Right now it's not really killing us, but like I can see this going down the road. If someone is sat in an office somewhere and pitched this to somebody, like what you're saying, like they start locking things behind microtransactions. Now, here's another take on some of this stuff. I think we're getting a little bit off topic. Talking about
we're just doing it.
Yeah, that's fine. So like I don't buy DVDs, but I look at them sometimes. Like, how much is this going to be? 'Cause my daughter likes watching movies sometimes. Some of the crap I don't feel like watching, so I'll buy her a DVD or rent one or something like that. So, like, you do understand, like, they have 2 tiers. I think maybe even 3. Like, you can go buy a standard DVD for like $20. You can go buy another like Blu-ray / digital / version for like another like $30. Like, I don't want our video games to get to that point where we're buying, the standard game, and then you're just paying an extra $10 for something extra like 4K assets or something like that. That's why I can see this going like longer down the road, which I really don't want. I just want to get the game. I know these devs have to make their money somehow, some way, and the microtransactions, the loot crates and stuff like that is one way that they can kind of recoup a little bit of extra money. But like, I think Chris Rock said this before. Like the money isn't in the cure, it's in the medicine. Like, so they don't want to sell you, a game that you only play for 3 weeks and you never touch again. They want to sell you a game that's going to keep you interested in it for a long time, as long as possible. That's why GTA has been so successful. I mean, that game came out last gen, and they, like last gen, and they came up with a version for this gen. So like, and it's still selling. It's still like in the top 10 MPDs most of the time. So like, they're selling us the medicine, man. They're not selling us the cure. Like that game could die off and could have been done with years ago. However, they keep just nickel and diming us, man, and people are still buying this shit and paying for it. So like, that model has been set. We're stuck with that now. We did it to ourselves as gamers. We buy that shit. So we got to sleep in the bed we made. However, I don't want this shit to get out of hand. And like for EA to come out and say they don't care what we want, because it's a money grab for them, man. They're trying to they're going the route where they want to do whatever they can to keep selling us that damn medicine. Instead of selling us the games they're selling us before, they want to make that money off of us as fast as possible and keep us interested in the game as long as they can, because not only does it make them more money for the game they created, that means they don't have to come up with a game every fucking 2 years.
Right.
We won't see a GTA probably till 2018, 2019. This game came out in like 2016?
Well,
longer than that probably. We got Red Dead Redemption to last us the next 5 years.
Right, exactly.
That's
that's what I was thinking too. When was the last time we got a game from Rockstar? Was GTA 5, and now we're finally getting Red Dead Redemption 2 because they're making so much money off of those GTA Online. And
so quick question: would you guys rather them just go up in price in the base game?
Nope.
Because our games have been
honestly,
been $60 for I don't know how long, right?
For certain games, I would pay more. For certain games,
I'm not going to pay more because I'm still getting the same like game. The difference is the microtransactions. Like, I mean, if you're adding microtransactions,
that's what I'm saying. Predator introduced a tier, right? And if you look at your mobile games, I know for a while when I used to, be into playing a little bit on the tablet or whatnot, they would have a price for a game, right? You could buy it, and you would get everything. It would be microtransaction free, basically. You'd be getting the full game, or you would pay maybe a little less, or it would be free, and you would have your microtransactions. So what if they came up with a tier that says, okay, you pay $80 for this game, but there's no microtransactions. Like,
here's the problem with that. Okay. How many times have you bought a game this gen, even fucking last gen, and it was broken at launch, didn't have all the content? It didn't like. True. If I want to pay that kind of money for a game, I want that shit to work out the gate. I don't want to have this shit like, oh well, these servers are broken for this week, or there's I get you're gonna have bugs in every game, but like some of these bugs are like game-changing, breaking bugs, like where the game is unplayable. Like that shit can't happen if you're gonna charge me $80 for a game. That shit needs to be complete when I get it. Like,
yeah,
that's true. But plus, you get it without
I still don't think I would want that, especially if the microtransactions are not like progressive. They're not like I can't think of the word, but like hurting my progression. As long as I can still like go about that the normal way, then no, I don't want that. Plus, I feel like that puts too much of an emphasis around like there's already an emphasis, but puts too much of an emphasis around the microtransactions, as well as I don't even think the companies would want to do that, because they're making more than $20 off microtransactions. You know,
right?
Like way more per person, like way more. So.
Well, you have
That
to
is
think
true.
people probably would still opt in to pay the $60 because it's $20 cheaper and just have their microtransactions. So they'll still have access to that, group that's going to pay, whether or not, So I mean, I don't know. I
But
would
if you
much rather
pay
pay.
$20 at the start, and get everything, like why wouldn't you do that? And that's just not like that. Just doesn't necessarily fit into the model. Like the model for GTA, pay $80 and get everything. It just doesn't fit into that model, and they're making less money. So
Yeah, I'm about to say they'll lose that money doing it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to talk on the microtransactions just a second here. With Assassin's Creed and Shadow of War, they're not really in your face either, and I think if developers continue to do that, it'll keep some gamers happy, and I think there are a lot of gamers out there that do like to buy all these microtransactions because they don't have time to do a lot of things that they want to do in the game, and they just buy them because they want the best gear, they want the best experience that they can possibly get, especially if they're only going to be playing because there's a lot of people out there that only pick up like 1 or 2 games a year, and if they're only picking up 1 or 2 games a year, why not spend some money on microtransactions? But for me, as long as they're not in my face, I'm okay with them. But I think at the end of the day, I would rather pay a little more, maybe not like a ton more. I wouldn't say like $100 more, but I would say maybe like, if a game was $80, but if I knew that it was going to be polished and it was going to be finished, which we never know that, then I would definitely pay that price tag. But I think,
here's
but
the part
real
about
quick,
that.
real quick before you say something,
Go ahead, Remix.
to Optimus, are you necessarily gonna buy those microtransactions? Let's say a game like Call of Duty comes out and they have skins and stuff.
I mean you're absolutely right. I'm not going.
I'd rather pay $60 and just not. I'm not gonna buy any microtransactions. I mean,
like
if
I
I were to
said-
buy, maybe I would pay the higher tier. I know you're talking about your tier thing, Baines.
Well, no. What I was saying is, what if you do get the game that locks part of your skill tree behind microtransactions? But
Well,
they
I think
say
that's true, yeah.
if you pay $20, $30 more on the base game, then you won't have that impediment, right? Well, why wouldn't you pay the $30 more instead of having to pay piecemeal to get whatever skill you need to progress in the game?
Well, we're getting into boycotting territory.
But honestly, I don't think any of these points that we're making, I don't think they're gonna work either way. I don't think even they won't. I don't think they'll ever raise the price of the games. I don't think they'll probably ever get rid of microtransactions completely.
That's true.
But
Yeah,
I honestly think that they need to create it so that it's not play to win. When a lot of games have done that, where it's kind of more play to win. But if they can work around it where it's not play to win, then I think a lot of gamers will be happy and they'll be like, well, I don't, if I want to buy a microtransaction here and there, then I can. But they'll still be there, no matter what, because it's the mainstay of what we're into right now.
In a weird twist, some of our games have actually been a little cheaper this gen. We've got a lot of $30 and $20 games that were actually really
true.
Like Ori was like $20. Rico
Cuphead
was $30. Cuphead was $20, $30.
Lots of sales too.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of sales. If you're a patient gamer, you can wait. You can probably get some of these titles a lot cheaper. But the other point I wanted to make, I think one of you guys mentioned, I'm not sure who it was, but like you mentioned something about getting everything. Here's the problem with everything. No one ever knows what everything is.
That's
so like,
true. Yeah.
Like they'll say, "Oh, we're gonna come out with this DLC," and they'll tell you like they don't. Most of these people, most of these devs don't ever tell you like when you buy, like you go all in with the game. You either don't know what you're going all in for. You just know you're getting DLC, 2 DLCs or 3 DLCs, and you never know when they're coming. You never know like what's all the content is. Like is it just going to be skin packs and a little small map or something like that? They don't. If this is ever going to be a thing, which I hope it's not, but if it is, they have to be transparent with this from the jump. Like, hey, we're gonna give you this on this date, and this is how much content it's gonna be. Don't give me this bullshit. We're like, hey, we're gonna give you all this content. We're gonna, if you go all in, spend $80, you get all 3 DLCs, but then they're spaced out over a year. You know, like that's not fair to us as gamers. Like, you know, like there's other shit that comes out during the year. You'll be able to forget. Case in point, I'm a huge Ghost Recon fan. I went all in. I got the gold edition. I got all the DLC. I am just now getting PvP in October, and this game came out in
That's true.
Yeah.
You know, and
but you're still gonna play it, Pred. You know you're.
I've been playing the fuck out of it. However, I wanted this back in March, but sandwiched in between what I wanted and what I got was 2 other bullshit DLCs. The PvP finally comes out, and it's only 4v4, and they're small maps. So like, I went all in, but I didn't know. You know, that's the chance you take, I guess.
Well, I mean, those are the risks that all gamers take. You know, is we don't know.
You have to take that risk if you're spending $80 on it, though.
Exactly.
Well, especially if you're spending $100, like even like on some of these, you know, gold editions of some of these games. You know, you're spending $100 here and there, and then you don't even know what's coming out as DLC. You know, like you know, like Syndicate only came, like Assassin's Creed Syndicate only came with like 1 DLC. Add-on.
Ubisoft, man, I'm telling you, it's the Ubisoft thing.
Yeah, and you spent like $100 on it, and you're like, what the heck? You know, and it's sad. That's why I didn't get the $100 version this time around. I only got like the $70 version because I was like, I'm not gonna spend on the season pass. I'm gonna wait until the season pass is probably on sale or something like that, and get it then, or just pick up the 1 DLC that they're gonna give to us later on. You know?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's worthwhile to just like wait and see what the DLC is, and then even if you're buying the season pass full price, like buy it separately. It's typically like it's $100 with the game, and or like all together, you know, 60 plus 40, or the season pass is $50 like standalone, and it's almost worth your while just to see what they have and spend the extra $10 sometimes.
Stop everybody listening. Stay away. You want to get some shit for the
They
Witcher
make
for
some
those
of my
guys?
favorite franchises, man. You know, Far Cry and
They're good for like the
Assassin's
first
Creed.
month, man, and then they just fucking fall off the planet, man.
I'm gonna get into a little bit of that now. Can Assassin's Creed still work after gamers like The Witcher 3 and after games like The Witcher 3 and Zelda Breath of the Wild?
Well, I think that it absolutely can, in terms of, you know, because it is almost kind of like a Witcher 3-esque kind of game this time around with Origins, because I've been reading a lot about it, and I've been hearing a lot of things about it, and been watching a lot of videos. I haven't watched anything that's going to give me spoilers or anything like that, but I've been hearing that, you know, they have a lot of Witcher 3-esque side missions, things like that. I think it can hold up. I don't think it'll surpass any of those games, you know, at any point, but I think it'll definitely have a good run with The Witcher 3 and Zelda being out there.
I agree with Optimus. The fact that, well, you know, based off what they've said, they said they'll have more depth in things like their side missions and stuff. That's good. Also, they've taken a couple years off to revamp it. I don't think you can, you know, make this statement until Origins is out, because that's coming out tomorrow, you know? So, as well as it is still a different type of game. It may be open world, but it's a stealth game. So as long as they're focused on working around those stealth mechanics and making that aspect of the game good, then it's different than Zelda or Witcher game that are not stealth games. So
I also heard that, you know, the game, if you don't like Assassin's Creed, you're not gonna like Origins. If you're not an Assassin's Creed fan, and luckily I am, so I'll be diving into Origins later on tonight.
See, I think they were
trying next week.
I think they were trying to get into different things. Like with the Witcher 3, it would have been the side quests, because the side quests were really, I mean, they were like story and, you know, in themselves. And then with Zelda, it's the physics. Like I used to hear a lot about, you know, when people would talk about Zelda, they would always say it's the physics, it's the physics, it's the physics. It's so different in this open world game. And
it's
it
the
really
combat.
is.
Yeah.
It's different things, like just simply chopping down trees, or the fact that if you shoot an arrow, your arrow doesn't just disappear if it doesn't hit anything. It's on the ground. You can go get it and pick it up. You know what I'm saying? It's simple things like that Zelda does, and I think that's what they're trying to get to when this question comes up. Witcher 3 with the side quests, Zelda with the physics. Is Creed going to aspire to bring both of these things together, or is it just going to be or is its difference just going to be in its stealth mechanics? And I think with Assassin's Creed, it's probably going to be the stealth. I don't think it's going to be. I don't know that it's side quests. The side quests that I've watched, because I've watched a lot of gameplay on Assassin's Creed too. They were decent, but they were still kind of fetch questy. They had some decent lines in there as far as story, but not they weren't Witcher 3 level.
I've never
I think it's just going to carve out.
I think there were more Horizons.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
I've never been a big side quest guy in Assassin's Creed games. I mean, I haven't played one since Black Flag.
You're not gonna like this one then, bro. Well, you probably still play it because I bought it. So
no, I mean, I just don't do as many of the side quests. I do the things go up in the tower and see the map, but I still enjoy the games and just playing the mains, going through the main story, going through the stealth. So that's enough for me. I think I'm gonna have a good time with Assassin's Creed.
Well, that's a 15-20 hour game. So I mean,
I know exactly. Well, that's the thing. They might not have the most in-depth side quests and shit, but they have a solid long story that's interesting and fun, and so and that's what I'm there for. So I'll be happy with that. I know other people want more crazy in-depth side quests, but I don't think every game has to have that. I know everything gets compared to The Witcher 3 now, but not every game has to be The Witcher 3, and games can do things different than The Witcher 3, such as, Assassin's Creed is a stealth game, so it can focus on its stealth mechanics and not as much on its side quests and still be successful, in my opinion.
Which I think, a lot of the reviewers have been comparing it a lot to Zelda and The Witcher 3, and I think they haven't really been giving it too much of a fair chance. I think it's been getting pretty good. It's been getting pretty good reviews. IGN gave it a 9. GameSpot gave it a 7, and then Game Informer I think gave it a 8.5. At least from the ones I've read from the major. And the rest of them I've been going more into the YouTube and listening to those guys talk about the game. But from the major guys, I think they're not really giving it too much of a chance. I don't think they've either ever played an Assassin's Creed game, or I think they're just they're focused too much on it being too much like The Witcher 3 or Zelda, and they're not giving it what it really needs to be. It is an Assassin's Creed game. And
it's sitting at an 84 right now, so that's not bad.
Which isn't bad. Yeah, it's not bad. It's just I think I'll enjoy it a lot more because I'm a huge fan of the series. So I'll probably take away that Witcher 3 and that Zelda stuff, and I'll just throw that out the window and just enjoy the game as being an Assassin's Creed game, And I think they should have done that as well, and I don't think some of them didn't do that.
Well, for me, and especially if you're a reviewer, I feel like you need to come down and sit with every game as a new experience. Sure, you're going to have some comparisons if the genres cross over, but you have to realize that some games have different aspects, and you really have to sit down and take each game as did this game without any outside experience, did I enjoy it, did I have fun, was it interesting,
right,
and stuff like that. So,
but I also hear them talking about the bugs and the things like that, and they're not game breaking bugs. That's what they've been saying. They've been saying they're not game-breaking bugs, but I think they've been focusing too much on the bugs because of the past Assassin's Creeds, like Syndicate and Unity. And I think they said it's not as bad as Syndicate, which Syndicate was way better than Unity. So I mean, I don't understand why they're focusing so much on it being with the bugs. They're because I mean they're thinking this day and age we don't need bugs, but I mean there's a ton of games that have bugs. I mean even The Witcher 3 had bugs, and they weren't game-breaking bugs, but they had bugs, you know, and
Definitely.
every game has bugs nowadays, and it's
I
crazy
think
for them to just even compare
I
them.
know why they're focusing on the bugs is because of what Unity was it? It's because that
Yeah,
was so
Unity.
bad. So they're
Yeah.
always going to have that.
Yeah, that
This
bad taste in their mouth.
series is always going to have that stink behind it of that game. So they're going to talk about that because they want you to know that the bugs are there, but they're not as egregious as they were in, with Unity. So you're always going to hear that in reference to this game.
Yeah.
Well, they
What
also
were you
said
gonna say,
that they
Pred?
weren't game-breaking bugs, but they also said that there's going to be a day one patch that's coming with it that's going to fix a lot of these things. So it's like you're giving reviews out for some of these. You're giving some lower reviews because they're game-breaking bugs before the even game releases, and you guys don't even have the day one patch yet. So I mean, it's crazy.
I was just gonna say you're following up a year where Witcher was one of the best the best RPG out. Then Zelda so far has probably been the best RPG out this year. And then you got Assassin's Creed. So they're gonna obviously compare the three to each other. Do I think it's fair? No. I also think it's fair, like Ottoman was saying, where you're comparing a game based off of bugs. From a game from a previous generation because of something that happened in the past, and you got the unpatched version of a game. If you're going to release a score for a game that's not fully released yet without the patch, you shouldn't even mention that part in the first place. Just talk about the gameplay, the mechanics,
Right.
And then if you're not ready for the review score to come out, the poster review score, then don't do it, or change it when you get the patch. Like they do that all the time though. They never go back and fix their scores. They just review it based off what they played the time they played it, and which isn't fair. And it's like, if you're gonna review a game, review the whole game when it's at its full state, not when it's at its half state where there's still got stuff that you haven't actually uploaded in the first place. But to the question in hand here, do I think these games will work? They've been working so far. I mean, we're on Assassin's Creed like 6 or 7. We're on Witcher 3.
We're like on 17 Assassin's
Yeah,
Creed,
right.
Man.
We're on like the 30th version of Zelda, so they've been working. I don't think it's ever gonna stop. I mean, like these games, I'm not a big side quest guy either. Get me in the game, get me out of the game, and if I feel like doing this shit later, I will. If it blends in to the game, like if it's like, hey, you have to do these side quests to finish the game or to level up your player, like they kind of blend in that way. That's one thing. There's a lot of RPGs out there where you don't even need to do the side quest. You can just go straight to the game.
Right.
Unless you're just achievement hunting, there's no point in doing them. They're just, who cares what the story is? You also want the main story. Some people, I'm a gamer like that. I don't need the full story of everything. Just give me the main story and I'm going to get out and I'll jump onto another game. I don't have time to be sitting here wasting 40 hours on The Witcher, which I still have not finished. So, because it's too long, man. Some games,
it's a long game, man. It is an absolutely long game
too, and that shit is long as shit. So like, I don't have that kind of patience, and like I'll jump on The Witcher like at a dry period where there's nothing going on. I'll jump on, level up my character a little bit, but not look and see how far I am. I'm like, fuck this. So there's a balance there. Like you can't have too many side quests where it feels like you're just doing mundane shit for no fucking reason and they're not doing anything, but make it part of the game. Include it. Merge them together. You can't just do this for no fucking reason.
That's where I kind of disagree, because I'm more of the gamer that's like, I love the side quests. I like exploring. I like getting into trouble and doing different things with the game, and even maybe even trying to get some of the bugs out of the game just to see if there's any bugs, and a lot of times I don't come across a lot of the bugs that some of these other people do, and it's funny. It's just like, I don't understand how you guys come across some of these bugs, but it's just, I think exploring for me is a big part, and I think with Assassin's Creed, I'm probably gonna be out of commission for a while.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like I like to explore too, and so far that's what's taking a lot of that's what's sucking a lot of time with Zelda, because Zelda is one of the games that, how some games you explore and you don't really get anything, like you don't get anything for that time, but Zelda seems to reward you for exploring, and you're always getting something different, something useful. So it keeps you, it keeps me going. So I would say I'm one of those side quest slash exploring type dudes too.
Yeah.
But we'll move on. Next up are Canadian developers fueling tech innovation um, with video games. And I read the article, so we kind of changed that a little bit. Are they using video games or video game tech to fuel technology for other industries? Because that's really
Right. That's what the
article yeah
that's what the article was
article was
about.
about. So it was basically talking about how in the Canadian developers are starting to take some of the tech to the video game tech to help out different industries like the health industry, branching further out in the entertainment industry. So what do you guys think about this? There was a lot of cool like innovations, like putting people using the VR to put people into situations. So say like if you were arachnophobe, you had an arachnophobia, they would put you in a VR state in a calm room and you just have like a spider off in the distance or something like that to kind of help you get over that phobia. So that's just one of the ways they were using that technology to help people out, and that was health related. There were other interesting instances too. What do you guys think about this?
Well, I think it's a good thing that they're kind of doing this, and and I think in the long run, it's going to be other developers besides just the Canadian ones that are going to be doing it. But I think they're the ones that are really driving this one home, and because they kind of Canada almost has what about I think 50% of there.
Yeah,
They have a lot of.
they're a big portion of our gaming industry. I didn't know how big, but they are pretty big.
They are pretty big. I think they have 472 studios with 20,000 employees or something like that up there in the good old Canada.
And, all that is outsourced too, though.
Right, it is outsourced, but I think at the end of the day, I think they're definitely driving this home because they're Canadian, man. They're nice people over there. I've never been to Canada, but I've known people who are from Canada, and they've always been nice. They've always been trying to help people and things like that. So I honestly see them continuing this and keep doing it.
Anybody else? Yeah, I can see.
Everybody else is like,
yeah, no. I've been to Canada, and my experience up there was pretty good. And I mean, if you want to go that route and say it's a cultural, it's a cultural thing for them to be more helpful. I mean, that can fit into this narrative, because I mean that would work because they are pushing this. They are pushing video game tech into these other industries. They're at the forefront of this movement. So I mean, which is a good thing. I mean, just think about doctors using VR to do the surgery before they actually go to do the surgery. So those are things that would be really helpful.
I wouldn't say it's just a Canadian thing. I mean, I think a lot of devs are doing this kind of stuff too. I know a guy I was deployed with. He works in the medical field, and they're using VR to do, like you were saying just now, like the practice surgeries and stuff like that. Or I know like with HoloLens, they're doing a lot of stuff with that. As far as like this teaching and stuff like that. You got the Minecraft stuff they're doing to help kids learn how to develop and program and code. I mean, it's because we're growing. Actually, matter of fact, in the military here, like I think they're using the Xbox controllers to help with submarines and help you train with submarines and stuff too. So, I mean, you got to keep in mind our generation that we're growing up in. We grew up with controllers in our hands. So to make that transition to learn how to use a controller to do certain things and use video games and stuff like that as a training tool for us, whereas our previous generations didn't have this kind of technology to learn these sort of things. So it's not just Canada. I think it's it's everywhere. And I mean, I didn't get a chance to read the article. I think I asked this before the pregame, like what was going on with this. That was the one question I didn't understand what was going on with this topic. But from my understanding, like this is something that we've been doing for generations, and it's not going to change. It's going to continue to expand upon, as we get more technically sound when it comes to just everything we do in our generation, just with video games and computers and stuff like that. So it should carry over into the future, I'm sure. Just just with the just the way we expand in our universe, we're gonna continue to grow our brains and use the things to make our lives easier. So this robots versus people thing has been a thing for generations, so it's gonna continue to grow.
I think I took more away from it, just that this hobby that we love to do so much is being used to, help out
Help
other
people, yeah.
industries. And now I mean, we've grown so much because gaming has, in the last, I would say, what, 10 years or so, gaming has really blown up as, I mean, it's the biggest entertainment medium. So of course, people are going to start to try to pick and prod at it to use it for other things.
Mm-hmm.
And I
The
think that
funny
was
thing is, like, remember, like you said, like 10 years ago, like they were blaming video games for violence and everything else going wrong in the world.
Yeah, and so
That is true. I mean, they still
crazy
kind
how
of
it's just blown
still,
up. Yeah.
I mean, they still kind of do that, but I mean, it's very not very often that they blame a video game for the violence that's been going on in the world. It's just because you can't really. I mean, there's a lot of gamers out there that have there's a lot of studies out there that have said that it doesn't make gamers violent. It just it doesn't make people violent. It just they enjoy having that hobby. It actually makes them less violent because they're taking out all their aggressions on the video game. So I think
You got anything? Hadn't heard from you.
Nah, man, I pretty much fall in line with Predator. And you like how it's cool to see the games industry impact other fields. As well as it's a worldwide thing happening, and I think they were using the Xbox controller for like drones as well.
That's what it was.
And so I think it's cool, interesting stuff for sure.
But yeah, our thing that we love to do so much is starting to branch out and do a lot of other things. So we'll move on. Last topic of the night is the fall season of gaming. Do you guys think it's not what it used to be? In my opinion, I think it's, if you're talking about, like, it's really wet. It's not dry out here. So
I think that they were trying to make it seem like it's a dry kind of fall season's becoming more dry now, and I don't see it happening. I think maybe this year we kind of had a few spots where it was kind of dry for a little while, but I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think next year is going to be even bigger with a lot of these fall games. They almost kind of do it like every other year. They have like a really great season of fall games, and then the next year they kind of like it's still wet outside, but it's not as wet.
It's raining. It ain't.
It's
pouring.
raining.
Right,
exactly.
It ain't pouring. Water. No, jeez. Nah. My opinion is like, yeah, dude. Like, there's so many games out there. Like, I don't even have time anymore to play these video games. Like. So, I mean, there's probably 10 to 15 games I could pick up altogether in the fall that I would enjoy if I had the money and the time to play those games, but I don't. So, I'm only going to pick up a couple. But, and I think we're also seeing a shift towards some more games coming out in the spring, which is also, I think, a good thing. But, yeah, the fall is still packed. I mean, there's more developers than there used to be. Also, you have to realize. So even if things shift to the spring, there's still a lot happening in the fall. And hopefully some more games are spread out to other times of the year as well. So we just got that year-round train going. But my opinion is for sure it's the fall is still a packed month, and it's always a kind of exciting time for gamers, I think, because it's the most packed month of games releasing. So
I think last fall we had like Gears, Recore, everything of the year before that.
We had
I mean,
what, Mafia 3.
We had a lot of games
Watch
last
Dogs
year.
2. You know, we had a ton of games. I don't know why
Yeah.
people think we
Dead
didn't have very
Rising
many
4.
games.
yeah, this is usually the time like right between October, maybe like September through maybe December. You
Yeah.
know, we get like everything this year. And it used to be in the past, like once January through maybe April, it was like that's like the dry season, like nothing comes
Right.
out. And I know Sony did a really good job this year releasing games early in the year. I think Microsoft will follow that trend next year as well and release them like, you know, maybe Sea of Thieves, you know, State of Decay will come out in the first half of the year. Like those times where you're not usually getting anything. I think with Microsoft, one of the things they've done is because they have back and pack games, they can fill in that time with those games, those
Right.
back and pack games. So like even if you don't think you have anything to play right now, or like in a dry season, should I say, like you can always go back and like, oh shit, there's a new back and pack game coming out. Oh, Red Dead's here. Oh, you know, Ninja Games here. Like now we have 360 games. So like that whole period, even if it was a dry fall, you know, I can just pick up a back and pack title I haven't played in a while. It would make it, because I haven't seen it in forever, and make it seem new. But like for anyone to say that this is a fall season's dry, I think that's like a false statement.
Yeah.
This is like there's a lot of shit to play right now. I'm still playing Cuphead. Fuck that game. I'm still playing. I could always pick up The Witcher. You know, and then you got games coming in EA Access that you've never played before. Some people like can never play Mass Effect. You know, in those cases, like you have games out there. There's games you've never played before. I believe that everyone's not played everything. If you have every single console out there, I'm guarantee you there's a game you've not played yet or not picked up and put a lot of time in. So that's a false statement.
Right.
Anything else, fellas?
No.
All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and end it on that. I want to thank Predator for coming through. We really appreciate it, man. And we go ahead and kick your outro.
No, man, thanks for having me on, man. Again, I actually got to stay for the whole show this time. I apologize again to your fans for leaving last time. You know, I had to go do that hurricane thing. As a first, man, I got recalled right in the middle of the podcast.
Yeah, man. It's all good, bro. You know, we understand what you got to do for, you know, those people out there in the hurricanes and stuff. So keep
yeah, that
doing
was
what
fun.
you're doing.
That was really fun. So I ended up leaving, like I think a little bit after that and going down to Houston. So, but I'm back now. I had surgery a couple of weeks ago on my knee, so I've been kind of like drugged up, and you know, I'm back walking around doing podcasts again. You can catch me on the Shop podcast on Thursday, 7 Central. I'm also on the next podcast. I believe that starts at 7 Central on Saturdays as well. I have my own podcast I do on Fridays. I'm sorry, on Sundays, right before the Mooch and Crap show. It's early morning. It's 9 a.m. I will not have a show this week because I have to work this weekend, but I will drop a video tomorrow. But my show is at 9 a.m. on Sundays Central Time, right before Mooch and Crap show starts. And again, Predator _H2OS on pretty much every console: Steam, Xbox, PlayStation. I don't know my Switch code, but I don't play it enough anyway to care. So check me out. Make sure you guys follow, and sub my channel as well.
Cool.
Definitely.
Cool. Remix.
Yeah, man, for sure. Pleasure to have you on again, Pred. As for me, you know, you can find me on Twitter, Xbox, PlayStation, wherever it may be at Remix Essence. So hit me up and we'll possibly game if, you know, I ever play video games again. Just a question.
I was about to say, stop lying, Remix.
Yeah. I was like, that's like my typical, you know, like hit me up and let's game, but I haven't been playing games, so nobody got time for that. So.
All right, Artemis.
I'm Dark Animus. You guys can find me on Twitter at the same name. You can also find me on Xbox Live, and I may be on the next podcast this weekend, this Saturday, at 7 p.m. Eastern and 4 p.m. Pacific. So stay tuned for that. I may be on there. You never know. You know, I'm kind of like aloof. You know, I like to sleep in my igloo and kind of, you know, think about things and things like that. But, well, you know, but he kept on saying, I bought it in igloo, and I'm all like, man,
I don't know where that came from either.
I gotta live with it, you know. Well, it came from Don, you know. Don, he always likes to mess with me like that. But yeah, definitely may see me on the next podcast this Saturday. So
Cool. MBaines99, PlayStation, Xbox. MBaines99 on Switch too, but I don't know my friend code, so whatever. It's too long. But that's it. We out. I've been your host tonight. It's been a good show. We appreciate Predator again for coming through, and we'll holler at everybody
man.
next Thursday.
Yeah, definitely.
Peace.
Also, want to say that if you guys like this podcast, definitely hit that like button and subscribe because we do definitely appreciate it. And okay,
Yeah,
bye-bye.
Peace. Peace.